Good morning. A memorable Biological and Cultural Diversity Day and Endangered Species Day to you all. And welcome to the May 16th Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Petersburg. If you are newish to us, we would like you to know that a UU congregation is a place for all souls, as long as you can abide by our demanding covenant, which we will share in a moment. Our community is devoted to growth in understanding and caring. We seek to learn from all persons, all peoples, and all of life, and to care for them. If you'd like to learn more about our tradition, please let me know. There's contact information posted at the end of this service. Many thanks to Sabina and Jerry and John and James for contributing to our service this morning with words, music, production, and spirit. And thanks to all of you for being here and making us a blessed community. May our time together help us grow.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jerry Hempner Gates, and my beautiful wife, Sabina Banalik, is handling the camera for this session. We're your worship associates this morning. To begin our service, we light our chalice as a symbol of our search for truth, our shared communion, and our guiding light of caring. Join, if you will, in the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Our invocation is called Here, from Holy the Firm by Annie Dillard. To take a deep breath, if you will, and let yourself relax and simply listen to Annie Dillard. We are here to abet creation and to witness to it, to notice each other's beautiful face and complex nature, so that creation need not play to an empty house. Who shall ascend unto the hill of the transcendent? Who shall stand in its holy place? There is no one but us, only us. A generation comforting ourselves with the notion that we have come at an awkward time, that our innocent fathers are all dead, as if innocence had never been. There is no one but us. There never has been. May the spirit of these words call up the best in all of us. Now our opening hymn.
As tranquil streams that meet and merge and flow as one to seek the sea, our kindred hearts and minds unite to build a land that shall be free, free from the bonds that bind the mind to narrow thought and lifeless creed. Free from a social code that fails to serve the cause of human need. Prophetic land, the future waits your liberating ministry. Go forward in the power of love, proclaim the truth that makes us free.
I'd like to tell a story, true story, for the kids and for families to talk about. It's a story about making bold or cautious decisions or choices. It's a shark story, and it's a bit scary, so just a bit of a warning. Once I was living on an island in the Pacific Ocean named Pfeffen. We had a baseball team, And our shortstop was named Alonzo. Alonzo was good enough to have played in any high school or college team that I ever played on. And he was also the best spear fisherman on the island, even though he was only about 22 years old at the time. One day, our scheduled baseball game was canceled at the last minute. So Alonzo and some of his friends went fishing. They got in a canoe and they paddled out to the edge of the reef. Despite being great spear fishermen, all of them, they broke from the traditional way of fishing that day. Instead, they exploded a bottle that had dynamite in it in the water to make it easier to get fish. How would that happen? Well, when the explosion happens, it stuns the fish, and they float up to the top of the surface, top of the water. And the fishermen just have to go around and pick them up and toss them in the canoe. Well, Alonzo was doing that. He was stringing the fish actually on a line, and he was swimming here and there along the reef when a shark came, attracted by the blood of the fish and sort of going into a feeding frenzy, maybe also from the detonation of the dynamite. And the shark went after Alonzo's string of fish. And Alonzo pulled them away so the shark couldn't get them. And the shark followed those fish just like a bull would follow a toreador's cape. But the shark missed the fish and grabbed Alonzo's arm and took a huge chunk out of it. Alonzo's friends saw what happened and they rushed over. They all chased away the shark, if you can believe that, and they got him into the boat. And they paddled to shore, and he was dying. But they managed to stop the bleeding, and until he got the care at the hospital on another island that he needed, and he survived. Fortunately for our baseball team, it was not his throwing arm. And fortunately for him, the wound was able to heal completely. But the lesson for me was that when even the most skillful among us changes thoughtlessly from traditional ways, and those ways were 2,000 years old, to new ones that you haven't tried before, like using dynamite or trying to push away the shark, you may not realize what you might lose. Alonzo was lucky. Remembering that, though, is a kind of concern I thought I'd share with you this morning, especially since now we're going to all share our joys, concerns, and sorrows if we choose to. So I hope all the children have a great day, and please stay at the service if you care to. Now a moment for any personal joys or concerns or sorrows that we might have this morning. You can share in the comment column on the right of your YouTube screen if you like, or you can share after the service during the coffee hour, or you can do both. So we are having a coffee hour today with Bill Motter. This morning we particularly take joy and some concern at and for the diversity of the life forms on Earth, and for the diversity of cultures and cultural forms that are amongst all the peoples of the earth. They are wonderful and they are threatened. I'd like to express joy for their creativity and beauty, and concern that they are vulnerable to us humans and our technology. Continued prayers for Anne and Brett, and our thoughts and prayers are with Jill Hoffman, whose father passed away this week. And for the sake of all who are under the continuing strains of this pandemic and these times, may we take care of one another. May we have joy in what we have and in the strengths that let us cope with our concerns. keep in touch, whether in need or in support. Now our first reading.
Our first reading, expressing what has come to be seen as a seed of modern conservatism, is from The Virtue of Selfishness by novelist and philosopher Ayn Rand. Concern with one's own self-interests is the essence of moral existence. Individuals must be the beneficiaries of their own moral actions. Selfishness is concern for one's own interests. My ethic is a morality of rational self-interest, or of rational selfishness.
We must all unite, for we are one creation. We must join the fight, together we are strong. We must do what's right in every situation. Love each other's lives as you would do your own. Just think twice before you cast your stone at someone's soul. Is their life, and so the choice is theirs and theirs alone. We're not here to judge, we are here to love. There's no room for hate. We are just one human race. We must rise above. We are here to love. There's no time to waste anymore. We must all unite. There's no more segregation.
When you've seen the light, there's nowhere else to go.
And with peace in sight, no walls to separate us.
We would be as one because this earth's our home.
Just think twice before you cast your stone at someone's soul. It's their life, and so the choice is theirs and theirs alone. We're not here to judge, we are here to love. There's no room for hate. We are just one human race. We must rise above. We are here to love. There's no time to waste anymore. Will we learn from the past? Our clock is running fast. We're not here to judge. We are here to love. There's no room for hate. We are just one human race. We must rise above. We are here to love. There's no time to waste anymore.
Our second reading draws from the covenantal words of the United States. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all people are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among the people, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, to effect the people's safety and happiness. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Our nation is conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all people are created equal, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. For the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Conservative spirituality and progressive spirituality. Can we get along? One thing I guess almost everybody agrees on right now is that we face a great diversity of threats and challenges. But different people and peoples are seeing the problems and the solutions differently, because there is within us that same diversity of biology and culture that we celebrate this Sunday. Diversity can be enriching. Evolutionary anthropology points out that diversity is a significant survival factor amidst changing conditions. But when crucial decisions must be made, often under conditions of considerable threat, uncertainty, and limited understanding, diversity often proves divisive and deadly. I think a significant contributor to our dividedness is in the human personality, or call it, if you like, the human spirit. We know from science that each of us has a different mixture of inborn personality traits or spiritual potentials, differing inclinations towards socializing, life expectations, agreeableness, conscientiousness, openness, honesty. And we know that each trait or potential is differently developed and differently expressed under the diverse influences in our lives, including the influence of our own emerging understanding, will, and caring. That's a lot of diversity and potential for division. One important divide, it's clear right now, is between conservative people and liberal or progressive people. There are, of course, differences within each of these two groups, but one of the great divides affecting the societal life of our country and of many other countries seems to be between the conservative spirit and the progressive spirit. This morning, I'd like to ask us to consider, what is it that divides these types of spirits? And is there a way toward togetherness, nonetheless? Generally, a socio-political conservative could be defined as one whose decisions are influenced by a desire to preserve things, like traditional purposes, values, institutions, and practices, out of fear that change will diminish the welfare, particularly of themselves and their kin and friends. A socio-political progressive could be defined in contrast as one whose decisions are influenced by a desire to improve things, like traditional purposes, values, institutions, and practices, out of hope for increasing welfare universally. The contemporary research I've had a chance to review indicates that conservatives tend to shy from uncertainty and ambiguity, and are resistant to change for fear of destructive disorder. While progressives tend to be tolerant of uncertainty and ambiguity, and are comfortable with and often encourage change in hope of beneficial reorder. Conservatives are reported to tend to be more accepting of authoritarianism and hierarchy in order to maintain safety and established order, support enforcing traditional relationships, discourage social change that diminishes the power of their in-group in favor of unknown or untrusted outgroups, especially through taxes and government spending, even if it seems to move society toward equality. They often accept prejudice as based on experience and wisdom, and tend toward nationalism. Exemplary influences might include philosopher, novelist Ayn Rand's advocacy of selfishness, Nobel economist Milton Friedman's trickle-down free market, Supreme Court Justice Lewis Powell's free enterprise lobby, and New York Times journalist Ross Douthat's Good Christian America. Progressives tend to be the opposite, tending to view tradition as not inherently of preeminent value, including traditional views on marriage and gender roles, for example. They hold to a more egalitarian, or they tend to hold to a more egalitarian social contract, decide more from science and reason than from tradition, want democratic government and equality of rights for everybody before the law, accept change and reordering for the sake of a hoped-for greater good, value internationalism, and perhaps most significantly, tend to be willing to share power and wealth via taxation and public policy in favor of equality and out of genuine concern for the welfare of even genetically unrelated others. Exemplary influences might include eclectic author Annie Dillard's appreciative universalism, Nobel economist Paul Krugman's wealth justice, novelist Albert Camus' altruism gratitude, and the U.S. Constitution preamble's more perfect union. Is the conservative argument true that self-centered concern, selfishness, as a virtue, within tradition, is most natural and best serves the greatest good for the greatest number? Is the progressive argument true that universally focused concern, altruism, beyond tradition, is most natural and best serves everyone? When specific issues of welfare are raised, environment, human rights, governance, migration, reparations, markets, etc., the differences make sparks. When other influences like class, race, gender, religion, media, ideology, geography, fear, greed, ignorance, and other identity specifics are added, the sparks sets these on fire. My political systems professor used to say, where you stand on these things depends on where you sit and what you sit on. Is there a way we can lower the heat and touch one another, to get along and work together? I'm a progressive by the definition I'm using, and I have been for a long time. So it would not surprise me if the way I see togetherness or coming together is progressive, even if I don't see that. That's unprogressive, of course, but there you have it. To only have close ties to progressives is unprogressive. Perhaps it's time to get up from where I sit and play some musical chairs. I suppose step one is to ask the question that I have to conservatives. Do you think, do you wish we could get along and work together? And if so, how? And if not, what then? And step two, and this would be a big one, step two would be to really listen to them and learn something appreciable rather than turn them into therapy patients. Fundamentally, these first two steps would be to get to like each other enough and to trust that friendship enough that we wouldn't let anything sabotage our relationship. So our meeting, our coming together, would have to be an easily repeated neutral meeting, maybe at neighborhood things. And I suppose that means I have to go find some conservatives nearby and face up to what I'd guess both progressives and conservatives fear: interchange in myself. I wonder if there's a local chapter of Caring Anonymous that might help. Other stuff I'm going to have to do? Do more to understand each portion of humankind's current realities and possibilities, or their view of the possibilities. Do more that helps others share and grow their understandings. Be more conscious about learning the ways of new friendship and devoting time and spirit to those ways. Be more conscious about learning the ways of communicating deeply held beliefs and opinions while opening to counter-dialogue and sharing. Be more attentive and aware of myself, growing and resisting, and, like my hero, persisting. Remaining courageous and faithful to my beliefs and opinions and to acquaintances, known and unknown. Remaining devoted to the transcending precepts of the preamble of the U.S. Constitution that outline in briefs America's traditional work for developing a more perfect union. My apologies for the length of this videoed sermon that you have to watch on YouTube. But one more minute or so, because this last necessity, a more perfect union, points to another dimension of stuff beyond the personal that will be personally necessary on community and national levels. Though it seems now to be another divisive factor between progressives and conservatives. That is, living up to the aspirations of the preamble as a people committed to developing a more perfect union of people, working together for the safety and happiness of all, establishing justice, domestic tranquility, a common defense, general welfare, and the blessings of liberty for everyone and their children. To do so requires the best of democracy, the equal voices of we the people. And there's the rub. For now, a large segment of Americans has lost faith that the full democracy of all the voices serves their cherished self-interests. So under the guise of ending voter fraud, some are increasing voter suppression of the groups they currently value and trust the least. But though voting methods can indeed be improved, democracy with its attendant educating and dialoguing looks like the only fair, though messy, way we have to provide for the rights and needs of all groupings and individuals in our wider community. Those who believe in progress in ensuring that the human rights of all people are fully intact will have to focus on what full democracy requires. Constant work to protect and enhance the voting rights of voter competence of we the people. Big changes will be coming. Big money will be serving an anti-democratic, ideologically monopolistic direction. That is why, from a progressive side, I'd say, even as we strive to develop conservative progressive friendships, as well as advance specific causes like environment, child welfare, poverty, and anti-racism, this work of ensuring full democracy must receive a fuller share of our attention from each of us than most of us have ever given. May friendship and democracy join to become the common practice of progressive and conservative spirituality. Thank you all.
To keep our congregation thriving, may we remember our connection to one another, and let us not forget our offerings to support the means to those connections. As you listen to our brief offertory, please click on the I in the upper right-hand corner of your screen to make a contribution. Other ways you may donate are via the Give Plus app or our webpage under the Giving tab, or by sending a check to the church. Thanks very much. Thank you, everybody, for being here together this morning. Please stay safe and well through the week. We hope you can join us right after the service for our coffee hour at the Zoom address coming up shortly on your screen. And if you make a reservation with Sarah Craig at the address in our newsletter, you can also watch the service at 4 p.m. at our back patio on large screen TV, along with other real live, masked and socially distanced people.
Now, as our service ends with a breath, we pass the flame of our chalice lamp to each other as we say together, we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of courage. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world.
Some words of hope and blessing as we go. We are in a new world every day, in which we are called to make not only brave choices, but wise. May we find the ways to appreciate tradition and those who cherish it. And may we find ways to appreciate possibilities, new possibilities, and live so they might come to fruition in time for all to share. May you go with curiosity and courage and caring. Have a great week.